Oh yeah, we live, baby. Waiting on a few people to get on here. But until then, just myself this evening. JR is headed to Lake Erie tomorrow and wanted to spend some time with his family, which is totally understandable. So I figured I'd hop on here and talk about some things that are coming my way as well as your way. Talk about my new glide bait that's still in production. I'm hoping to have some of these things out into some of my buddies' hands in the next 2 weeks potentially. And we're going to talk about those in just a second. Again, just by myself this evening. If you don't care to share out this live stream, whether you're seeing it on Facebook or YouTube, I'd appreciate it. And after this short intro, we're going to get into talking fishing here for the week of 5/14/24. Got a lot of stuff coming your way, including updates on the glide. Let's go. That's a life of a fisherman you wouldn't understand. Something you can't feel on dry land. Gotta get your arm way up in a cage and set the hook on smallmouth bass, and then you'll understand. Gotta get your hands on a Shimano reel and a G-Loomis rod. I bet you like what you feel. Step on a day, give it a whirl. Hello, welcome to my world. What's up, everybody? Strix Marine in the house. What's up, buddy? So if you're just now joining in, welcome to this episode of Honor of the Line Live. As you can see, my counterpart JR is not here with us this evening. As I mentioned before the intro, he is going to Lake Erie up in Presque Isle Bay, leaving tomorrow. Wanted to spend some time with his family and stuff before he left, which is 100% understandable. So you guys get me for the entirety of whatever long or however long this goes. But one thing that I want to mention is sorry for my nose being all jacked up. Like, this allergy season has been crazy on me. Like, this has been the worst allergy season I've ever had. Been switching and thinking about switching up allergy medicines and all that stuff. But so again, kind of gotta bear with me. So let's talk about this is prototype 2. You can see there's a ton of holes with lead drilled in it. I am in the process of trying to find out where the best weighting is and how the weight needs to go. But I have dialed in the hinge. Like, this thing is legit. Like, I'm talking, like, if I can get my camera to focus there. It's got my big white face in there. As you can see, this thing is got a ton of maneuverability. Obviously, we'll have a tail in there. But one of the coolest things that I am, hey Mark, what's up, buddy? Louisville, Kentucky. What's up, buddy? But one of the things I'm really most interested in is getting this pin system down so that you could take just your pocket knife or a pair of pliers or what have you. And I know you guys can't see this. I'm just taking this out of the camera, so in case if I cut my finger off here, it won't be on live television or live Facebook vision, if you will. So what I did was I just took the tip of this. I guess I really can't call this a knife on Facebook, really, but I've just poked the top of that pin out, and then you can take this pin totally out, which causes the bait to split. Now, the reason that is that I know some people like to have a bait that has a really crazy chop action, but not as much glide. They kind of want it to turn back on themselves. Well, changing the lengths of these screws here by screwing them in or out will give you that flexibility. Now, I will tell you that these baits obviously are not going to have a warranty on them. They're fishing lures, so if you do something to screw them up, that's on you. These things are not going to be cheap. These things are going to be $150+ a piece, just for the simple fact that every one of these things are going to be custom tuned. They're going to be custom weighted. They're going to look way better than this. Obviously, this is a prototype. They will have paintbrush style tails on them that will be in there. All the hook hangers will be the same. Going to be running hooks similar to these, but they're going to be a lot smaller. They're actually quad hooks, and they have integrated swivels in them. So I'm figuring this bait, it's going to be fairly heavy right now. It's probably 2.5, 3 ounces, I would say. This is made out of maple wood. This is not bass. This is legit wood. Like it's crazy how dense this is. This isn't going to be like something made out of birch or something like that that'll get tore up really well, really easy. This is something I'm really pumped up about. And again, I'm gonna get a hold of a few of my buddies here in the next few weeks. Aaron, I'll get a hold of you and a few other people. I'm gonna give you guys a couple of these things, one a piece. I'll tune them, get them sinking. My goal is to have these things to sink as flat as possible, as slow. There's going to be a couple different sinking methods. I think that something that's like a medium sink, something that's like this right here, is going to be for me, because I'm going to be wanting to work this thing a lot faster. But most people want them slow sink, or some people even just want them to glide on top of the water, which that's just something I'm going to have to work with. And so this is why this is all crazy like this. But I'm gonna get this stuff dialed in, get some paint put on these things, get them out to you guys. Let's test them out and see what happens. Again, my goal is by the wintertime to be knocking these things out in mass and selling them for 150 to 200 bucks a piece, depending on how intricate the paint job is. If I'm painting them, they're going to be 150 bucks. If I have to pay somebody else to paint them, if you want something that's like, similar to this, that looks, realistic, we're going to have to find somebody to do that. What's up, Dave? How you doing, buddy? Yeah, Jeff, I kind of gotta keep my mind busy. I was down at the river, down at your restaurant there, the River, on Sunday for Mother's Day. I didn't see you around. You must have either already been off work or hadn't got there. It was about 3 o'clock when I was there. Or actually probably about 3:30, I would say. Excellent meal as always. Absolutely freaking love it, man. I tell you what, if I could probably make a meal out of the German coleslaw down there. Like, it is so good. If you've never been to the Scioto River in Portsmouth, Ohio, first off, their steaks are my favorite, but the German coleslaw that they have, or German slaw, is phenomenal. If you guys like sour stuff, like vinegary-ish stuff, then it's for you. So again, these baits are going to be out soon. These things are going to be, these are going to be one-off. Like, these are going to have a signature on them. I'm going to sign every one of these that are made. They will be tested. They will be, I will float test them. I will run them. I just bought a 7.6 extra heavy Poison Adrena to throw these things on. I'm waiting on a Tranks to come in. Quick question for those of you guys out there. I'm looking for somebody to order 1,200 yard spools of Sunline through. I talked to Brad over at Borders, and he says the biggest he can get, except for going to shows, which there's no shows in the area right now, is 660 yards. Well, I don't care to buy that 660 yard spools, but I'm going to have a better part of like 25 rods that I'm going to have to reline here soon. And I'm trying to do this before June 1st, which is, it's a little over 2 weeks away from now. June 1st, Kyle and I are leaving, going to the Potomac for the first leg of the northern swing of the Toyota Series. So I'm really pumped up about that. I'm going to have $1,000, and the entry fee for a co-angler is $550 plus $100 FLW fee, plus like $19 for them to take your money over the internet. So I have like $618 or $16 or $620, I think, in entry fees to get in this tournament. But I'm gonna have another $400 or $500 in staying there and all that stuff, which is what it is what it is. But the reason I say that is I want to find somebody that can order these things for me, because I'm not going to go into this tournament with old line. I'm running some line that is 3, 4, 5 years old. Some of my line is 5 years old, and I'm not having problems with it right now. Getting a lot of line memory and that stuff. But it's just at the point where, I'm fishing the biggest series that I've had the opportunity to fish in my life, probably. So I don't want to go there and break off what could cost me winning a boat in, for a couple $100 on line. Oh, that sucks, Jeff. Hate to hear that. Will do, Carl. Let me know. That's awesome, man. It was so good. But yeah, so that's the deal. So I'm looking for somebody locally or whatnot that will be able to order me. I'm looking for a 12 pound. I need at least a 1200 or a 1200 yard spool of 12 pound. Potentially, depending on the price, I might buy a 1200 yard spool of 16 pound. And I'm looking for FC Sniper, by the way, Sunline FC Sniper. They're fluorocarbon. It's all I run basically. If I'm running, it's braid or that, and I'm usually braid to an 8 pound Sunline FC Sniper leader. But I'm really excited to get out of the Ohio waters and fish the northern swing of the Toyota Series. And there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the co-angler side of things that people are kind of up in arms about. And it's kind of weird, like with the forward-facing sonar stuff. As a co-angler, if you go to some place like Del Hollow or something like that, you have to figure that they're going to be out there scoping in 50 to 80 foot of water, especially this time of year. And as a co-angler, man, you're really handcuffed with what you can do in the water or during those times. Now, if we have to think about that and take a little step back, let's not think about like the things that suck about that. We all know why that sucks, but think about the opportunities that you have to fish a different way that you normally don't do. Obviously, if they're live scoping fish around in a school of fish, you're probably not seeing fish that are outside of the scope of the actual beam of that live scope, and you're in the back of the boat anyway. So one of the things that I have, thought about lately is that these fish are feeding on bait fish a lot of times, and you're normally fishing some sort of jighead minnow or some sort of sugin head or something like that, a bullhead minnow. But these are all swim bait style fishing techniques. So I, as a co-angler, am definitely going to be tying on a swim bait, and I'm going to be tying on, a pretty heavy swim bait, man. I want to get to I want to slow roll this thing on the bottom, but I'm just going to do something different. But I think that's one of the main reasons I chose the northern swing of the Toyota Series to fish this year. It's twofold. One of them is that two of the tournaments are while I'm out of school. I never understood why they have what they call so-called weekender series tournaments on right in the middle of the week. Like the very first tournament we are fishing is like I think it will be June like 4th, 5th, and 6th, or 5th, 6th, and 7th. I think it's like 5th, 6th, and 7th, if I'm not mistaken. Which is Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I'm sorry, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm off work for that. That's the first week I'm off for summer break, so that's why I'm able to fish that. But it's really tough for me as a teacher. I would say for anybody, unless you take vacation days to go fish that. We're leaving the 1st, and I won't be back until hopefully that following Saturday, because that will be, me making the cut, which is, what I'm going for. But going to someplace like the Potomac, so we're fishing two of the ultimate smallmouth fisheries on the planet. The very first one is at Lake Champlain in New York. So the very first tournament's at the Potomac River in Marbury, Maryland. That's coming up here in about 2.5 weeks. I'm going to be working then going to Champlain, and that's in July, and then August, like the 3rd week of August, is the St. Lawrence River. So we're talking two of potentially the greatest smallmouth fisheries on the planet with Champlain and the river there. But I don't feel like that these are going to be so live scope heavy that a co-angler cannot be successful in them. If you think about Lake St. Clair, I've put a lot of time and effort in Lake St. Clair. You're usually just drifting, and even if you're spot locked on a spot and there's fish on a rock pile, you can pretty much cast in any direction of the boat and have a pretty good opportunity to catch a fish. So I'm really, kind of excited to get that going and have that opportunity. But I'm really kind of excited and nervous all at the same time to get back in the boat with people I don't know. And that seems kind of weird and kind of, I don't know. I enjoy fishing with other people, one, because I get to learn new things. I am not a professional fisherman by any stretch of the imagination. I don't claim to be a pro. I'm not even close to being a semi-pro. I like to have fun and I fish on the weekends. But I like to compete, but I get to see new techniques and I try, and it allows me to kind of break my comfort zone and stretch my limits a little bit and learn some new techniques. For example, I was fishing with a guy, Lake St. Clair, and he told me we're going to be throwing Carolina rigs in the river. So I was like, okay, sounds good. I got some Carolina rig stuff with me. I took my G Loomis NRX Plus 890. So I had an 894 with me at the time. Rigged up the Carolina rig with a 3/4 ounce weight like I normally do, tungsten, and everything's good. And I go there and we go up in the St. Clair River, man. And I tell you what, 3/4 of an ounce, if I would have thrown 3/4 of an ounce out there, I'd have still been waiting on it to hit bottom. And this has been 2 years ago. This dude pulls out a Carolina rig with a 2-ounce egg sinker on it. And I'm talking about absolute massive egg sinker. I couldn't have put every weight I had in my whole entire backpack together and made 2 ounces. There's no way. Let's see. All right, Marco, check that out. And so, it was great. And then on the other side of things, you always have those horror stories. And I've had way less horror stories than I've had great experiences. Had a couple bad experiences with boaters before. One guy was a half hour late to the tournament, and we drew a decent boat number. We were like boat 18. Dude was 45 minutes late getting to the ramp. And then, like, I fished with other people that have been awesome people, but things have happened weird. Like, one guy was like 15 or 20 minutes late to the tournament. But one of his wheels on his trailer had broken off and passed him on the way there. So he had a little bit of an excuse. But that fella had some really bad luck that year. He had a Triton boat that the top cap had separated from the hull of it. And he was at a big tournament fishing like a Toyota Series championship. So he went to the hardware store and bought a bunch of self-tapping screws and went all the way around. He pulled the rub rail off, or the rubber insert on the rub rail where the hull and the top cap go together. And he just run a bunch of self-tappers around that thing and put the rub rail back on there, and Triton voided his warranty. He had like a 2-year-old boat that the top cap had come off from, and we were running down the lake, and you could feel the hull and the bottom of the top cap flexing. Like my feet were flexing in the boat. So it was an unsettling situation. Cool, Mark. Will do, man. I appreciate it. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for some people to help me out. I'm really excited. Potomac, I've been doing a lot of research there. I've been there for one tournament. I was there for a BFL regional. It was in the fall. If you don't know where I'm talking about, the Potomacs, we're taking out of a place called Smallwood Ramp, which is close to Marbury, Maryland, which is about 30 miles south, directly south of Washington, D.C. So it's a tidal fishery, which is something way out of my comfort zone. You might find some fish midday and go back to find them 2 days later in the tournament, and what you were fishing is dry land. And it fluctuates daily. Obviously, we got the Chesapeake Bay, and that's where it comes in there. Some of the water is brackish, obviously, where it's fresh and saltwater mixing. Some big old largemouth in that place, and I'm really excited to get back in there. I know that Matthew Strickland so he fished there in a BFL and actually made it to the All-American, which is, I mean, talk about an honor, man. That is he is an absolute stick, but he's I mean, I've never done it. I've fished BFLs for the last 8 or 10 years off and on and never come close. I think, the closest I ever came to that stuff was making it to the regional, and I never, you have to finish in like the top 3 of the regional or top 5, I think, to make it to the All-American, it is crazy. Like, that is absolutely having a great day and, being a great fisherman. So I don't know when that is. I know it's going to be televised. So Strick, if you're still on here, drop some of that information. I hope I haven't already missed it. It seems like it may be this fall or something. I'm not sure. But that's going to be a big deal. I've been looking at it, a lot of grass, a lot of lily pads, stuff like that. So I have, again, that's why I have a 7.6 extra heavy poison adrena that I'm going to be throwing these glides on. And I'll be throwing frogs on them when I'm not throwing the glides. I have to get better at throwing these things. If I'm going to build them, I have to throw them. There's just no doubt. Like, it's like building a car, and it's like building a Chevy and driving a Ford. If you own Chevrolet and you drive a Ford, it ain't happening. But I want to get better at that. But when I'm not throwing these things, I'm going to be throwing a frog on that. Tranx 150 rod, probably 50-pound Power Pro braid will be on that. But I'm really excited to get up there and see what's happening. I think a chatterbait will play. I do think that maybe a lipless might play. And we're talking about in the summertime, right? It's going to be June. Fish should be off of the bed by now or catching the tail end of it here in a couple weeks, especially up there. Jackhammer, definitely going to be taking that. I think that sight fishing is going to be kind of out of the realm. There is a few possibilities where, as the tide is going out, it pulls some of that fresh water out of like tidal pools and things, which is a lot clearer. So you could find some areas that, sight fishing could be, potentially productive, but most of the time it's like a tannic, brackish looking color of water. I definitely going to be packing a spinnerbait with me. It's kind of late in the year to be throwing a spinnerbait for like a shad spawn, but it is happening right now. If you guys are local in my area, you should definitely be throwing a spinnerbait right now, especially Yatesville Grayson. I did see that Yatesville is cleaning up pretty well. It's getting close to almost the best time of year, in my opinion, and that is big worm season. When I mean big worm, I'm talking 12 to 15-inch worms. Talking Carolina rig, big, giant, shaky head, something. But I'm telling you what, do not be afraid to throw a big worm, because big fish will eat them, but smaller fish will eat them too. I caught a 9-inch fish last year on a 13.5-inch worm. And that is a no lie. It's actually out on my video from Grayson. I had a great day 2 weeks ago on Grayson on the Jackal Chunk Crawl. Absolutely phenomenal bait, guys. If you don't have the Jackal Chunk Crawl in your arsenal, you should definitely check it out. Watermelon, pepper, green pumpkin pepper are my 2 favorite collars. Get the 3.5-inch. I don't have a ton of luck on the 4-inch ones. It's weird. It's only a 1/2 inch, but I'm telling you, there is something different about that 3.5-inch that just absolutely catches the heck out of fish. So it is extremely different, Jeff. I did not catch anything because I didn't have enough weight to get down there. He absolutely smashed him. He probably had, I think he had close to 30 pounds. And it wasn't 30, it was like 20. He had 25 pounds. He had a 5-pound average, but there was nothing I can do. Being me, in the front of the boat, if I was there, I would have offered me a 2-ounce weight if I had some extras. But in the grand scheme of things, be prepared. It is what it is. One of the things that I did see the other day, that somebody got disqualified from a tournament from the first day because they didn't buy their fishing license on a body of water that they're fishing. That is an absolute fear of mine, to catch an absolute bag of fish somewhere and then not have the license that you need to catch those fish. So I've been doing a lot of research up there on the Potomac River. It is on the Maryland-Virginia border, and both of those are reciprocal. So what I'm going to do, being the cheapskate that I am, I'm going to have over $1,000 in this fishing tournament already. I'm going to find whichever one of those states is the cheapest for an out-of-state guy, and I'm going to buy it there. However, I have to talk to my boater whenever I draw them for the first day, is if they plan on running north heading towards DC, if you pass the Woodrow Wilson Bridge, you have to have a Washington, D.C. license as well. So it is crazy. So I'm excited to see what's going on there, and really pumped up to get my line wet up that way. The Jackal Chunk Crawl is not hollow body. It's just a standard, kind of reminds you of a like a Zoom speed crawl. It's solid plastic. I'm gonna have to get a GoPro out. I'm gonna have to put it underwater and drop that bait down because it has some crazy action, but it falls straight down. But the appendages are like, they're almost like spinning, and it's just a really good bait. Really, it's pretty compact. You can pitch it in places you wouldn't think you're going to be. Make sure you have that hook exposed on a Texas rig. I throw it on a 3/16 ounce tungsten head. 4/0 offset shank Gamakatsu hook, anything you want, VMC, Mustad. I don't care what kind of hook you throw. I like Gamakatsu. VMC makes some good stuff. I think VMC has some of the sharpest hooks on the planet. I just have had awesome luck with Gamakatsu, so there's no reason to switch. So I am I've been throwing the chatterbait a lot more this year. And I think one of those things is the reason that I'm doing that is the fact that I have caught some fish on it this year. The very first fish that I caught on it this year was about 3 pounds. That was down in Falls Lake. I made about 100 more casts and caught one that was 6'8". So that will definitely lock a bait in your hands. But I'm telling you what, if I had to choose one bait right now to flip and pitch, it would definitely be the Jackal Chunk Crawl, and there's nothing even close. They make black and blue, and they make green pumpkin, they make like June bug. They have one. Let me just show you this one collar. If you are a river fisherman, I don't care what river you're in, Jackal makes a chunk crawl in this collar. Let me see if I can make sure you guys are not seeing this yet. Let's see. Looking for the, oh, there it is. Let me pull it up here. Here we go. Let's see. I mean, look at that thing. You tell me that thing right there in the river, in any river, wouldn't just get absolutely smashed. Again, these appendages back here don't do much, but right here, basically, like, it's almost like these arms go directly in the air, like it's saying, put your hands up, and then its hands are just kind of like waving in the air. These things right here are really good. So this is an SL orange, or maybe that's SI orange. Southern Delight's a cool color. It's a darker, kind of like a purple. Again, watermelon pepper right here. You can see this is green. This is a 4-inch. Again, you can see the difference between a 3-inch and a 4-inch. This is a 3.5-inch. Here's a 4-inch. They're just a little longer, obviously a 1/2 inch longer, but it's a 1/2 inch longer across the entirety of the body. I have 4-inch ones. Don't have a ton of luck on the 4-inch ones. You can see here's the green pumpkin pepper. This is more of a brownish color, more green, or more brownish green compared to the watermelon pepper, which is, basically a solid like grass green color. But those two are really good. I caught an absolute hammer on this bait right here, the black and blue, in a little small pond or it's actually a lake around Moorhead, Kentucky. Me and Brandon Buckner were out there doing some fishing a couple years ago. And I have this thing, I've caught some of the biggest bass in my life on that Jackal Chunk Crawl. So Jeff, you can order them anywhere you want, man. Just search for Jackal Chunk Crawl. But I do believe Brad over at Borders has some. You might, if you're going to be out Grayson, you can talk to TNT Outdoors. Anybody that can get Shimano products. Shimano is a Jackal is not owned by Shimano. Shimano is just a distributor of Jackal baits, so that's how you can get them. Tackle Warehouse has them. That's where I was just looking at right now. Discount Tackle. Just look for, if you want one bait to get the watermelon pepper 3.5-inch Jackal Chunk Crawl and buy like 5 bags of them. I buy them 20 bags at a time, and I'm not kidding. I ordered 40 bags this past fall. It was 20 green pumpkin pepper and 20 watermelon pepper, and I have absolutely smashed them on it. I finished second in a tournament the other day with one, and I caught 3 of the biggest bass at Grayson the other day I've caught in a long time on them. It was absolutely great. So, it's I think it goes without saying here that I've had some crazy luck with my boat over the last couple months. Some of it self-inflicted, some of it not so much self-inflicted. We know that I hit a run aground basically on when I was down in Falls Lake, and bent my prop shaft. Aaron Strickland got me set back up. He had some extra lower units down there. We found one that would work as far as the prop shaft. He put it in there, put a new water pump and all that stuff while we had the lower unit off and all that stuff. Get back on the water, fish about 3 times, 3 tournaments. Everything's going good. We go up the lake. I'm running an old school prop that I bought off of Aaron Strickland. Nothing he done wrong. It was nothing I done wrong. It was just an old school 26 pitch raker prop. And the old school props, like I'm talking like 25 years ago, they had the hubs were rubber and they were pressed in there. Most of the time right now, you can just kind of hammer it's like a hard plastic hub in there, hub kit. But before, they were pressed in there. It's kind of like a big rubber donut. Well, I was going around the lake, spun that prop, which is, it happens. That's why those things are there. Get back to the ramp. We ended up finishing second during that tournament, idling everywhere all day, which was a classic move. And then I go out to Dewey Lake last Sunday, and I finished second there. But on the way back to the ramp, running, 50 mile an hour, I wasn't like pushing my boat really hard, just cruising. There's a lot of boat traffic out there. Dewey Lake is not that big. I didn't want to hit anybody. I was just cruising. All of a sudden, my boat just absolutely felt like that it was just falling flat on its face. And I knew exactly, like immediately what happened. I had dropped an injector, which is the second one that's happened to me. And that's why I knew exactly what happened, because it happened to me in the past. Now, talking to Tyler Sturgill down at Malone's Marine, he tells me that I'm super lucky that when that happens, that it doesn't burn through the piston as well, which could have very well happened this time. But I have an injector that's down. So luckily enough, my cousin Josh used to own a FICT, F-I-C-H-T. I don't know. I guess that's how you pronounce it. FICT injection Evinrude. So he gets on eBay years ago and buys some sort of cable that will connect to the EMM of these boats, mine included, and got the software from this person that he got this cable from that will let you, basically, it's dealer software from Evinrude. So I connected it to my boat today, ran the diagnostics, and it showed that the injector number 6, which is on the port side on the bottom of my engine, had an open fault, which is exactly what the other one did, but it was the one right above it. It was the 4th cylinder. Starts at the top right if you're looking towards the bow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's the port side bottom injector. But I tested it out. Sure enough, not working. However, I've found a person, and this may help you guys out in the past or in the future, because I am going to test this guy out. There's a fella or a company called Injector RX, which is in Texas. And this person that I've been talking to claims that most of these E-Tech injectors don't just go out. he said they practically never quit totally working. He said normally what happens is that they get so gummed up that they're either stuck open or they're stuck closed. He said they will not function. So he said that it's like $55 an injector. It's stupid just to have one of them cleaned. So I spent this evening taking all 6 of my injectors off. Now, first off, err on the side of caution if you ever take your injectors out, especially out of an E-Tech, because here's what I'm going to tell you. They are not swappable from cylinder to cylinder in an E-Tech. I cannot speak for any other motor. Do not take my advice for anything to resemble a mechanic. I am not. I'm fairly good with working on things and I'm comfortable working on my own equipment. But what happens is with these injectors, with the E-Tech engines, and again, I can only speak to them because I don't have any clue what any other machines do as far as Mercury, Yamaha, stuff like that. But when you get an injector directly from BRP or from like if you go to like Freedom Outdoors or go down to Malone's Marine if he can order or whatever, and you buy an injector, first and foremost, you have to choose what side you get. There is port injectors and there's starboard injectors. They are not interchangeable. But first and foremost, do not think that you can just go to a junkyard and find an injector out of an E-Tech and swap it onto your motor and get it to work. Will it work? Sure, it probably will run. However, there is what's known as a coefficient file that goes with every injector. And from my limited knowledge, what that means is that there is a piece of software that gets uploaded into the EMM or the electronic motor module, basically like an ECM for a car, and it tells how much fuel and stuff that actual injector will flow at any given time. Now, if you're running a coefficient file from another injector on this new injector, there is a great chance that you're going to do some irreparable damage to your motor. So take that into consideration. If you have this software or, I can help you change an injector. It's fairly simplistic process. But if you buy an injector for an E-Tech from a dealer, be sure that they get on their side of BRP's website and get that coefficient file for that particular. You'll actually have to put the serial number of that injector into their website. It will then download a file that you'll have to put on a flash drive or whatever. When you go into that software for BRP, you'll hit change injector or whatever injector you're talking about, 1 through 6, and it will actually walk you through the process. You'll install the new injector, and then it'll ask you for that coefficient file. And when you do that, it'll upload to the ECM, and you'll hear that injector start cycling, and it basically tests itself. Right now, when you hit the injector test on number 6 in my boat, absolutely nothing. So it's either stuck totally open or totally closed. I'm gonna give this injector RX guy or company a shot. $55 an injector. And if it does work, it will be worth every penny. What's up, Larry Slack? Jeff, what do I think the cicadas will do for fishing? I think it's going to make topwater fishing phenomenal. I haven't seen any cicadas right now in this area. I guess we're probably still too far a little bit north. I know my buddy Dusty, when he was leaving, he was down in North Carolina, and he said that they were terrible down there. So I do remember that. I mean, it brings back so good memories for me, man. Being like football practice here in cicadas years ago, it was awesome. You hear a little bit, but not too much. So I enjoy topwater fishing, and I think that it's going to really do some good. So, I mean, if you got one of those old school jitterbugs in your box, this year might be the year for it. Pop R, something like that. Something's making some. So, oh man, I tell you what, if you are throwing like the Pompadour Junior from Jackal, that'd be a good bait too. Pretty expensive and kind of big. Yeah. So I don't, like I said, I know they're going to get, I mean, we're at that 17-year mark, I think, where they come out in full force. Maybe my head's crooked, but I swear I think this freaking hat is sewn crooked or something. It's like I put it on my head, what I think is straight, and the bill is not. Oh, well. Anywho. With that being said, guys, again, JR's not on here because he's spending some time with his family, but wanted to hop on here to talk about some things that are going on with me. Again, if you're just now getting on here, glide baits are coming soon. This is prototype number 2. You can see that I'm working on getting the weight right. I do have what I believe to be a really good example of a hinge system. Really like it a lot. I'll have this thing weighted. They will be one off, meaning that every one will have my signature on them, and they will be made by me, weighted by me, and if they're painted by me, these things are going to be like $150 a piece. And if I find somebody that's way better at painting them than me, you're going to be looking at about $200. But with that being said, we are going to get these out in the hands of a few people, and we're going to be testing and tuning these things going forward. Now, what does that mean? Well, just going to, have you fish them, tell me your feedback, and the ultimate goal here is to catch some fish. I'm really excited to get these things out and use them. I think these things are going to be legit. I want to do some tests. I want to drill a hole through the center of one of these baits, and I want to see how much pressure it takes to break this joint off. And the reason I want to do that is because right now I'm running 1-inch screws in here, which are, fairly lengthy. The screws go into the head of them. And then there's a pin that goes through the back of the tail. But, I do have a lot longer screws that would cause the screws to come way up in here. Like they're like 1.5 to 2 inches long. You're going to get a lot more, I guess, going to be some, fail safe there to them. They do get pre-drilled. They do get super glued in there as well. So when you super glue them, obviously it takes the idea of being able to tune them out of there. You can still take them out. It's not going to be totally, permanent. But I want to test this out. I mean, let's face it, the biggest bass that ever been caught in the world is like less than 20 pounds, which is absolutely phenomenal. It may be more than 20 pounds, 22 pounds, I don't know, whatever it is. But this bait is going to hold more than 20 pounds with this joint. But the way I have this set up, we got about 3/8 of an inch of wood stuck in between here. So, I mean, like you would have to really do something to break it. That's awesome, Jeff. That's where it goes, man. I have a pocket fisherman from Ronco that somebody gave me, and it is absolutely pristine. I love it. Appreciate it, Jeff. It means a lot. So that's the deal, man. Like I'm gonna try to get Matt Robertson to throw these things. Matt's been I've been in the talks with him, or not really talks. I've been tagging him in these posts and stuff. So again, I think that these baits are going to be, I think they're going to be big time. Now, if I can, make them, they may be limited quantities, man. They may be like 20 to 50 of them a year because they're not easy to make. That's why they're $200 a piece. I have no doubt. They take a lot of time and effort. Each wood, if you think about this wood right here that I'm using is a piece of maple, hard maple, big leaf maple from our area. Same stuff that we make maple syrup from. But the density of all this wood is different. So this piece of wood based on another piece of wood is going to be more or less dense compared to what tree it was cut down from, etc. I'm using scrap wood from Guitar Builds to do this with. So, it is what it is. That's why they're so expensive. And they're not for everybody. If you don't like to throw glide baits and you're not going to buy one, you're not hurting my feelings at all. I understand totally. But just another little side quest I got going on. But with that being said, guys, we're at that 45-minute mark. I've had an absolute blast talking fishing with you guys this evening. Fred, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for joining in every week, man. I appreciate it. You guys joining in and or catching it later in the next day or whatever means a ton. Can't wait until you guys see what I got coming up. Obviously, you guys are going to see. I'm going to try to make this as like a vlog where we're going, my whole trip for this Toyota series. Everything that we do is going to be based on this series that I'm going to be producing a video every day about, which I'm really excited about that. Pre-fishing Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Tournament is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That following Saturday, which is, let me make sure that date is correct. It will be the 8th. It will be June 8th. They're having a kids fishing event down on the riverbank in Center Street Landing down there in Ohio, or down in Ironton. I will be there with my limited knowledge helping. So there's James Gordon, a fellow that I've met recently. He's the man when it comes to this. I'm not taking any credit. This has nothing to do with me. He asked me to come down and hang out and spend some time. I'm more than happy to do that. But he wrote a grant through the Department of Department of Education. Listen at me, but through the DNR to get the Step Outside grant. Every kid that comes down there is going to get a free rod and reel, small packet of baits, and some bait. We're going to do some catfishing or some fishing there, talking about how to tie lures and how to tie knots and just get some kids fishing. So if you're interested and you have some kids that you want to bring out, it's 100% free. Doesn't cost you anything. If you like to come out and hang out, that's where we'll be. So we will see what's happening. So I appreciate you guys joining this episode of On Another Line. And as always, you know the routine. If you can, get out there and lean on them. Jeffy said $138 was what that was for a 1,200-yard spool. We'll see you next time, guys. If you can, get out there and lean on them. See you next time on Another Line.